Have you ever had real side dreams where you were killed, or assuming a different form to the vehicle you currently inhabit? Well, most certainly, we all have, and every conceivable dream in between. As we do know, we must experience everything, every viewpoint possible, every perspective, every possible idea that is made manifest in the dream arena for our examination, to circle and view all of creation from every angle, peeking in every nook and cranny, that we can finally see all of creation for what it is, simply a training simulator, and with experiences in all life levels and the real universes, we can make the comparisons and recognize the different life levels and the ears. We learn to switch our view from the literal to the real view, and our experience alters accordingly, demonstrated by how we initially view dream experiences very one-dimensionally, until we see what is behind what our literal senses tell us. The is everything, and everything is. It is only when we are within the creational matrix that everything seems separate and segregated, including all our various lives we have ever lived. Within the matrix, the computer storehouse, that is our memory vehicle, places all experiences into a sequence that seems to be the passage of time, that is actually cause and effect. The experiences are as a result of causes we set in motion, essential, yes, for awareness expansion, but cause and effect enslavement nonetheless, if we restrict ourselves to creational cause and effect only. And our causal memory body would equally have all our lifetimes arranged in a neat sequence spanning from the past to the present. But in actuality, because everything is, then every lifetime and life position and body form we inhabit across the endless expanse of creation and dimensional possibility is happening in this now moment. But unless we step into that new nowness and stand real there, we are in cause and effect creation, and subject to the linear passage of time, which is simply an idea we agreed to, and thus it is so. So, as we stand here in this new moment, every lifetime ever experienced, including the future ones, are happening right now. As past, present, and future are ideas in creation, and so the future is just as accessible in the nowness of the is as the past. This has to be so, in keeping with the notion that everything is an isness, and everything is here and now. So that is a given, and not a hard concept to accept. Just give the personal self a smack up the head if it tries to think and understand it literally. So back to where I began. Yes, a lot of dreams will be for demonstrational purposes, and we will assume forms and be involved in situations for the purposes of becoming more aware, as the real universal guides mould the dream arena to impress upon us that which we need to know now. Sometimes I've been in the form of werewolves, simply to demonstrate something that being in such a form would provide. As an example, I was with a group, and we were passing through various life levels, and at one point a great door was slamming shut before me, and at this door I transformed into a werewolf. This was indicating that I had to smooth out certain facets and attitudes before progressing further, as the qualities of purity and sincerity are those that will better align and grant access to the higher life levels and beyond into the real universes, along with awareness and recognition. Dreams are generally over-exaggerated to get the point across. So this was an excellent way to do this. What could be a more appropriate creature than a were-beast to be a visual display of less than savoury attitudes? Sometimes we get viewpoints from various species too. We assume the roles of aliens and reptilians as an example. Every way of being, every constructed, created consciousness, individually and collectively, is based on ideas and attitudes that we have taken on and incorporated, all of the social structures of the various alien civilizations and how they regard and engage with other races also. All of this is all what the is not, and so all viewpoints from all these species will give us a mighty palette of viewpoints to recognize the true reality by, through comparison. Comparison being the only way, as you can't use your personal vehicle to fathom out what the is. It has to be recognized. A few times I've been reptilian, and I had access to their way of being, their social structure, and being able to remain objective during this is always preferable, or you simply get absorbed into the experience. You become then the experience of the reptilian, rather than experiencing it with clinical detached indifference and objectivity, and from there you still have the vehicle. It's not like it's gone just because you can stand in your real awareness, while you still have a vehicle in creation. Its makeup and created consciousness is still yours. But now you can observe it as something outside of yourself, to see it for what it is, a complete creation, and everything that makes it what it is, you created. And what is created is added on top, as layers upon layers upon the is. So to be with the is, these layers and creations must all be removed. But because everything is, and so every lifetime, past, present, and future, is in the NuNowness of the is, then it's conceivable we will get flashes of insight, glimpses of these lifetimes in our physical waking reality. Deja vu as an example, something that sparks recognition, and not necessarily from the past. It may just as easily be a future lifetime. This also explains premonitions to an extent. Generally, one can see what the so-called future may bring, based on what is being decided now. Everything being cause and effect, and so the predictions are simply the likely effects of what is being set in motion, which are of course subject to change. The effects are always in flux and malleable, depending upon the agreed upon decided causes now. set in stone and very rigidly programmed causes have predictable outcomes. It's not hard to envision the sort of world that is to come, based on the choices and decided upon agreements currently being made. But if all our lives are here and now, and are thus accessible, we may well dip in and out of them, even unconsciously, and have glimpses into future lifetimes where we can bring back what seem to be future predictions and prophecies, especially if we are becoming more aware, if we are leaning toward our real selves more and stepping gradually beyond the confines of cause and effect creation. Not only will this make the Akashic records accessible, the storehouse of all lives lived that resides in the astral level, but accessing the universal files also. The universal files reside in the real universes, and as you can appreciate, the guides are very particular about who they allow to view these. No grubby little power-seeking individuals or controllers are going to be allowed anywhere near. Generally, then, most will only be able to glean knowledge from the Akashic records, and these will be unreliable to a degree, as they fall within the Callum God's manipulative influence, as he resides in the mental level, and if he deems it a necessity, he will alter and adjust the Akashic records. It stands to reason that the Akashic records can only contain the lives lived up until this point, as they are very much of creation, and so will be in accordance to the agreed upon time sequence and frames principles. The universal files would obviously contain every life, past, present, future, everywhere, into infinity, as the nature of the all is an isness, so everything is, and the files there would reflect that, and contain, therefore, everything, and what a read that would be. On the real side, then, when we dream about lifetimes as monsters, reptilians, and in various places, and if we experience deaths or even births, following on from what I have spoken of, these may not necessarily be then simply for demonstrational viewpoint and is recognitional purposes. As the more we stand real, the more aware we become. The more we stand in this new nowness of the is, where everything is, the more we are everything that is also, and so it's very likely that as we become more and more with the is, and align ourselves with the new nowness, that we automatically may dip in and out of lifetimes, past, present, and future. The reasons could well be, again, for demonstrational purposes, that we could experience a life lived once, and it could be incorporated into a demonstration by piggybacking onto the very convenient content of that lifetime. That's in keeping with what a guide may wish to share or divulge, or we may have a desire to do so, consciously or unconsciously, for who isn't curious about other lifetimes lived? The lifetimes, though, are experiences, references only, and should be treated as such. They are not realities, and one can be diverted from their focus of the is by chasing these old lifetime references. You can get a pretty good idea of what you have done and been generally by where you are now and your circumstances, at least the broad themes anyway. The details may not really matter. So, whatever the reason, we may go to visit these old lives. Or maybe the personal self simply wants a little relaxation. Sometimes we find a nice spot on the real side to relax and draw breath from the arduous journey toward the is. A little time out with an intergalactic martini. It's possible then we may seek such relaxation spots with lifetimes from the past or the future, which are all happening now in this new nowness moment, and are places where such tranquility can be sought. Maybe a peaceful planet far away from any turmoil and wars. If there are such places at this moment in the very last epoch, I like to think there are. In fact, I'm sure there must be. Especially if we visit a past life, which might be during a golden epoch instead of the iron epoch we now are in. Here's a dream I had the very other day. I was on my adventures somewhere, somehow in unidentifiable lands, and amidst a group of peoples, humanoid as far as I could see. In this dream I was a dragon, not an atypical dragon, four-legged like those depicted in the Game of Thrones, but more bipedal, like a reptilian, but very large, with impressive wings, and a very dragonic head. I seem to be with these humanoids. They were a bit wary of me, as you could imagine, but knew I would cause them no harm. A strange crew, then, to be sure. Humans and a big anthropomorphic dragon. I had a sense that this was a lifetime lived, and so during my sleep I had switched into my real awareness, stepped into the NuNowness, and for whatever reason I had skipped into this lifetime. Considering this, the reason for doing so may well be for another viewpoint, for comparative reasons, like when I was a reptilian on the occasions I have been so. So maybe the past life was triggered for this very reason, or I simply found myself there, and the opportunity for a viewpoint could be realized. Either way, it's more likely lifetimes experienced in this manner will more readily occur if we are becoming more aware for the reasons I've cited, but also as we are paying more attention and seeking to better understand and glean awareness as a result of our real side dreams. It's more likely, again, real side dreams that incorporate lifetimes, past, present, future, or whichever dimensions they stem from may occur. And in a dream recently, I was killed. The details not so important for this topic, and I will be recounting it on a future UK Zoom sharing, as the dream in its entirety was rather entertaining. But at first I assumed the dark forces were trying to slay me for sharing the is and the new, which is what I was doing, and they were unsuccessful. But what if, in fact, in some life or dimension, I am also sharing the new there, and I did, in fact, meet my end at the hands of the dark forces? It's very possible. It is a risky business, this whole sharing of the new, and so I may again have popped into an actual lifetime where I met my demise, and perhaps then took the opportunity to objectively view my death. I can't say I've ever seen my death in a dream before, as far as my mental body will currently allow, so it was a unique experience for that reason alone. We obviously have died endlessly and all over creation, but naturally we have no conscious memory of it unless we go akashic or universal file dipping, or seek the information specifically on the real side. So rarely would we be afforded the opportunity to stand indifferently back and witness our own passing. A way to gauge to what extent we can be detached from what would be rather traumatic for our personal little selves. I was in fact drowned in this dream, and I regarded it with indifference. So, if it was a test to this end, and I feel it was, then I passed. Care not, did I, for my passing? So again, we can put all this in a little nutshell. It's all about experience. Experience to become more aware and recognize and be real with the is and the universal guides, and the experiences are always omnipresent, for the whole matrix is a simulator and designed for no other reason than for experience. So all these lifetimes that we can dip into quite demonstrably, especially on the real side, if we stand real in the NuNowness, can be revisited. We are not actually revisiting them, as everything is. So how can we revisit something that is always here and now and is? We can't ever be separated and outside of it. So how can we in fact leave and re-enter? All we can do is recognize it or not, stand in it or not. But for the interests of literalism, if we revisit lifetimes, past, present, and future, then we can maybe glean more from them now, if we are far more along our journey to the is than when we actually had the lifetime at the moment we were there. Yes, all lifetimes are experience. But if you have read one of Dwayne's new books a year or so, or even months ago, try reading it again, and you will gain far more from it, as your awareness has likely moved along and expanded, that you recognize more so that which he references through his new books. The same holds true, then, with lifetimes. Depending on the degree of awareness you have in the lifetimes, when your focus allows you to be with them, will dictate that which you draw from them to facilitate better recognition of the is by objective comparison.